Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Deus. At Nick Deus Tenders, you can find me, veteransminimum.com, for all things VM, including now, not even a week, but a merch store. And a big shout out to all the members of just Veterans Minimum. We've sold a lot more shit, George, than I expected to sell already.
Yeah. You're like a new rapper, and you're like not sure how many streams you're going to get on that first EP. You're doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised by it. And fun fact, the most important fact, I don't have any of this merch. So you guys are all going to have the merch before I do. But it's veteransminimum.com. If you go down to the Shopify, you'll find all the merch. And please, if you do buy merchandise, tag us. Tag me, tag the show. We will repost it. It goes a long way to spreading the word. I've always felt, George, as if the best endorsement from anyone is word to mouth. Correct. You telling a friend. Any show I've ever watched has been because a friend of mine told me about it.
Right.
And I just think that's the best cosign from the people.
I mean, I wore your hat when I was in New York 2 weeks ago. And it not only was comfortable, Nick, but you allowed me to have a range of different attire I could wear with it. It was the black with the gold trim, an iconic look. I felt like a Purdue Boilermaker. I felt like a Drake OVO Toronto jersey. You know what I mean? Like, really solid. And you guys are hearing it from me. I'm going to buy merch from that little Shopify thing, partially because I need some
some new drip.
I need some like inspiration for what my Shopify is going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plug away.
Gridiron Junkies.
Let's go.
Gridiron Junkies. I need something to wear to all these football events that I'm going to. Like, my parents just asked me the other day, they're like, what vacation do you have going on next, George? And I'm like, I'm going to be going to a lot of games, hopefully. Like, this is the reason why I left teaching and started doing this for a living, is because when I have the opportunity to go see a live sporting event, I will pass it up over anything in the world. I mean, whether it's college football or NFL, I want to hit more college this year to kind of get that landscape and that feel, because there is so much in the football world that is like culture based. And I just want to soak in all the culture. I feel like Anthony Bourdain a little bit. Like, I'm going to be going to so many different places, but I want to be dripped out, you know?
Dude, you bring up a fantastic point, because I get a lot of shit from people for not being into college sports. And I think it's because of regionally being born and raised in New York. I didn't go away to any big time university. I went to Buffalo State for 2 years, Division III school, you know. I didn't really experience what it's like to have 90,000 people in a parking lot for a tailgate, and then the entire community shuts down because the Crimson Tide are playing, or because LSU is playing a night game in Baton Rouge. And I've always wanted to go to a big time university, because then I feel like I'm a big experience guy, right? Like, I don't like talking out of my ass. I can't really relate to the big time college experience. The two of my buddies went to UConn and Syracuse. They love college basketball, obviously, right? Because they went to two schools that are powerhouses. So I agree with you, man. That's a big bucket list of mine too.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain games. Like, I mean, I will settle for going to the venue. Here's the thing. Like, I obviously want to go to Alabama versus Auburn, right? But I'll settle for Alabama versus Texas A&M in Alabama, you know, to get that vibe. Or even at Texas A&M with the 12 men. There's so many different cultures that I've yet to touch. Baton Rouge is one of them. I'm going to definitely be looking for a LSU Saints game, like the ultimate New Orleans weekend.
Dude.
Can't wait.
Dream of mine.
All right.
I want to go to Texas for a Friday night high school football game. Like I want to go to what is it called? Series 6 or like something 6 is like the top of it. Like, I want to go to a real one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to go to where like Baker Mayfield played. You know what I mean? Like
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, yes. Like somewhere where it's like, holy shit, all these kids are going D1.
Yeah.
So I want to go Friday night in Texas. I want to go to a high school football game. Saturday, I want to go to Texas University. My favorite quarterback of all time, Vince Young.
I thought you were going to say Colt McCoy. I was about to say, whoa.
But dude, Vince Young, fun fact, is the reason why I wear number 10. Really? Everyone thinks it's because of Eli Manning. And in soccer, the number 10 is like the guy, right? Like if you ever watch a World Cup,
that's so funny. Messi, right? Mbappe.
Neymar.
Wow.
Maradona, Pele, Zidane, the list goes on and on.
Way to put me on to that.
If you wear number 10 for your international soccer team, you are the man.
Okay.
Right? But everyone thought me going from soccer to football, I wore number 10 because of that. It's like, nah, man. Vince Young.
I mean, that Rose Bowl, bro. No, not random. I mean, that's the most iconic college football moment, arguably, since the kick six with Auburn, Alabama. I mean, I remember watching that game, and it's been a family tradition, honestly, for the last 10 years, we've gone to the Rose Bowl. And every single year, but it started right after watching Vince Young do that. And the iconic moment, we're seeing Pete Carroll, like fucking choke on his gum a little bit. Like, oh, I can't believe I just let this one up. But what a career, NFL career for Vince.
So Friday, high school football.
Yes.
Saturday, see the Longhorns. And then Sunday, the Giants play the Cowboys.
It has to see that, but now you're making it an event that you have to get to, as opposed to just the venue.
Yeah,
this is tough.
That's super.
Tough, I mean, I know you're super into astrology, but like this is.
Yeah, I can't. Oh man,
this is like Mercury being in retrograde.
Exactly. And the planets aligning. You know how I get when that happens. Listen, I want to talk some football with you. We were going to talk basketball to open up. We'll close with basketball because we just spent some time talking about football. So it's going to throw a little bit of a wrench into everything. I want to start the conversation with something that happened over the weekend. Friday, I was in the studio and I was helping Brandon Marshall and Devontae Adams. They recorded a show in here. Mm-hmm. And one thing that Brandon Marshall does with his content, especially when he has wide receivers on, is he likes asking that wide receiver to put a list together. Mm-hmm. 5 best wide receivers. Devontae Adams ended up giving like 9 names because he did like 1A, 1B, and all this stuff. And that inspired me to come up with this segment now. Let's talk about the best wide receivers in the league. Let's give out 5.
Right now. And I just need to know, clarification-wise, was he was asking all time, Brandon Marshall?
No, right now.
He was asking right now.
Yeah, like right now.
And Adams couldn't pick out a top 5? See, I mean, it was quick for me. But I guess when you're in the...
It was kind of quick for me too.
I mean... I feel there are some that are no-brainers. And I got a sneak peek at your list.
I have 3 absolute musts, or else your list means nothing to me.
Okay. Should we say, let's see if we're best friends. Okay.
All right, let's see if we're best friends. All right. So who do you think is the best wide receiver in the league?
3, 2, 1. Jefferson. Yeah. JJ. Okay. Yeah. It was tough.
Yeah.
But yes.
Devontae Adams also said that he's the only one he would put above him. Adams said himself, which, look, it's not a bad answer.
I mean.
Right? Like, it's definitely, you're not crazy for saying that. But Justin Jefferson, so the knock on Jefferson, not even a knock, but it was, well, we need to, there are people where it's like, we got to see if this is the real thing. Like, they're not going to give you the one-hit wonder. Right? Coming out his rookie year, he had a monster season. All right, can he do it again? Then he does it a second time, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, let's see if it's sustainable. And then last year, he wins Offensive Player of the Year.
I mean, he was the most reliable 3rd and 14. I have to find you. I don't care if you're double coverage. Kirk Cousins was just making that kid have those superstar highlight type plays. Remember, like a lot of these receivers, it's not only that the quarterback doesn't have trust and faith in you, but you're just not able to show up when the time is called on you. With Justin Jefferson, there was at least 7 times last year where it's a 3rd and extremely long, and Kirk Cousins throws up a jump ball, and it gave me Calvin Johnson feels, dude. The way that he would go up and snag the ball from these people. And it's not only his insane catching ability, though, but he might be the best route runner in the league. It's that slim frame. I just don't think that anybody else on the... I mean, the second person on my list, I feel, might be the best route runner.
I want to stay with Jefferson for a little bit because his rookie year, he has 1,400 yards, 88 catches. His second year, he has 108 for 1,600 yards. And then last year, he has 128 for 1,800 yards. He scored 7 or more touchdowns every year that he's been in the league. he finished top 4 in MVP last year too. Like he was a final candidate for it.
I was throwing the nod his way because of, I mean, it's obviously going to go to a quarterback, but if you're looking at who had the biggest overall impact for their team, I mean, that Vikings offense was literally non-existent if you could not find a way to get it to him.
Yeah, because Adam Thielen took major regression.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook didn't really have a monster year. He was in and out the lineup. He was a little banged up. He wasn't his normal self.
Correct.
And it was a lot of Justin Jefferson on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 14, 4th and 27? What was it against Buffalo where he had that wild catch?
Yep.
And everything was going through him. And I think right now, dude, he's probably the best offensive player in the league that's not a quarterback. I know he just won Offensive Player of the Year, so it's not really like a steaming hot take, but this guy is still on a rookie contract. He's going to set the new market. And I think he's clearly the best wide receiver in football right now.
I mean, it is somewhat of a hot take when you say other than quarterback position, because there's a Austin Eckler that I would say, in my eyes, what he's done over the past 2 years can be in consideration for that. When you were listing off and we were struggling to find out, wait, who did the Vikings throw it to last year? TJ Hawkinson was also like their flooded valve guy that.
Sure, fair point. Also got there late.
True. It was a Detroit trade.
Yeah. He got traded there. So, dude, Jefferson last year was my pick for Offensive Player of the Year. Shout out to me. 16-1 odds gave that out as one of the picks. And one of the big reasons why was because when O'Connell got there, he said we were going to use him like Cooper Kupp. He was the offensive coordinator with the Rams that won the Super Bowl, and Cooper Kupp went ballistic that year where he broke all the records, got the Triple Crown. You said how you were giving him his flowers for being an MVP candidate last year. Dude, I feel like if Cooper Kupp didn't win MVP 2 years ago, I don't think we're ever going to see a wide receiver win it.
No. It would have to be a 2,000-yard season, right? And Kupp came close.
It would need to be more than that. Like, it would have to be something where he had 1,900 yards, 145 catches, and 16 touchdowns. And Stafford didn't even play that well. Because always, the conversation is always, well, if the wide receiver is going to be MVP, it means that the quarterback went crazy. Not really, dude. Stafford hit like 4 straight weeks where he threw a pick 6.
Mm-hmm.
Threw a lot of interceptions that year. I'm pulling up his stats right now. This is just not loading. What do you have? He had 17 interceptions, 41 touchdowns. 16 of them went to Cooper Kupp. So it's like he accounted for about a third of his touchdowns.
Yeah.
And from week 1 to week 18 in the regular season, Cooper Kupp's worst game was like 7 for 70.
Yeah.
It's like every week this dude was a monster.
He was Mr. Reliable, bro.
Yeah, and Stafford wasn't.
And it's interesting you said O'Connell said he was going to use them like that. Now I'm recalling seeing like what type of routes was J-Jet really running, and everything just across the middle low and just really letting their athleticism. And I mean, Justin Jefferson is quicker and more athletic than Cooper Kupp is. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do next year because, I mean, defense is keen in on tendencies. I think tendencies between receivers and quarterbacks year after year, you know, I mean, more film on you and more opportunity to know exactly what all your secrets are. And I've never really seen a receiver get quicker over the years. So, I mean, even if it's micro, do you think J-Jet's hit his prime? Or do you think he has way more, like we have not seen?
It's a fantastic question because I would say how much better could it get than 128 and 1,800? But he's 23, bro.
I know.
He probably has a decade of dominance still. Because he's also a great route runner, right?
Yes. And
when you're a great route runner, you don't really need to be a 4-3 guy. If you're a great route runner and you run 4-3, now you're Tyreek Hill and you're just a massive problem. But I've always gravitated to players that explosiveness isn't their number one trait. It's a bonus. You follow what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Like Tim Duncan was the same speed from his rookie year to when he ended. His game never changed. Guys like John Wall, Russell Westbrook,
John Morant,
those guys are so built on explosiveness that eventually when they get north of 30, a couple injuries, that's going to be one of your main traits that go away.
Yeah.
Whereas a dude like Chris Paul, he's kind of been the same, like speed-wise, you know? So when it comes to wide receiver, it's crazy because he's 23 years old and every year he's improved. And the way the game has changed where it's even more passing now, and I think the sky's the limit. I think 2K is definitely possible for Justin Jefferson.
I would like to, and I think this would attribute to possibly being able to win an MVP at the receiver position, is teams got to get a little more crafty with getting their receivers in more like jet sweep type of, schemes. Because J-Jet to me, like he could be like what I see what is done with Deebo Samuels. I'm like, damn, I mean, you're just getting a super athletic person the ball in space. And if he's utilized in that sense, we're like, no, you are our overall offensive unit. We're going to put you in the backfield. We're going to put you at the slot. We're going to put you out wide. That is what I see could possibly be his next evolution, because he really is just a freak talent, dude. Like if he isn't getting the ball 15 times a game, or at least you're not attempting to try to get him the ball 15 times a game, like O'Connell should get fired. And so we'll see.
Man, I'm thinking about you asking about his prime because that's crazy, dude.
You said, does it get any better than this? I think it does, but he will hit his prime. I think now it's just going to be a sustained 1,700, 1,800, maybe 2,000. I mean, it seems like a tough number to achieve for a receiver.
Is it though? We talked about this last time you were on the show. We did Unbreakable Records. And we said how everything now kind of has an asterisk because you're playing an extra game. Now, if you are this wide receiver, if you're a top 5 wide receiver, I feel like you have to get over 1,500 yards. That's like 90 a game, dude.
Yeah.
It's, like when people used to say, oh my God, we have 1,000-yard rusher. It's like, bro, it's like 62 yards a game.
2,000 still hasn't been done yet. Calvin Johnson has that record at 1,964.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, look, man, that's a ton of yards through the air.
And Justin Jefferson is 6th on that list.
All time?
Yep. Oof. He's going to... He got really lucky, man. I mean, the Vikings were just the epitome of luck last season. And I mean,
Yeah, we'll get to the Vikings in a little bit. We got another segment planned. Who's your number 2 wide receiver?
Ex-Viking. Stephon Diggs.
Oh, number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. He's on my list. I have him at 4.
I just think he has that overall dog in him. And what I mean by that is I've been trying to identify which receivers are about that smoke off the line run blocking. That man he's terrifying to me in the open space, not only with, his strength, but I mean, he makes dudes look silly. And part of the reason why he's so high on my list is because he gets in people's heads, just like Justin Jefferson. Like they aren't afraid to talk that shit, and they back it up really well. And I think Stephon Diggs has got an excellent connection with Josh Allen right now. I think they're the epitome of best friends. And if he can, not play in cold weather all the time, I think his numbers would be a lot higher. Like if he was to have Josh Allen in a dome, which by the way, why are the Bills building a new stadium that doesn't have a dome?
It's the aura of Buffalo, dude.
Give me a break, Nick. What? It's freezing cold. Like,
I went to school up there. I know.
Like, so you were like, this is good. They're going to have heated seats. Definitely. Right? Or no?
Yo, personally, I feel like every new stadium that gets built should be a dome or at least a retractable roof.
Yes.
Because don't you want to one day host a Super Bowl?
Right. Don't you want to one day not have to worry about inclement weather?
Yeah, worst Super Bowl ever. The one in MetLife when the Seahawks beat the shit out of the Broncos.
Yeah.
That game was over like 8 minutes in.
Very true. I remember the safety.
To open it up.
First score of the game.
Yeah. Back-to-back Super Bowls started with a safety.
That's crazy.
It was like 65-1 to be the first scoring play back-to-back years. But there was snow that week in New York. Horrible. Yeah. And they put the NFL experience in the middle of Times Square. You know how much of a shit show that was?
Oh my God.
It was brutal. It sucked. But one of the reasons why MetLife Stadium got built, which by the way, worst stadium of all time. MetLife Stadium sucks.
I think this is an episode that we have to do.
Bro,
like
listen.
Stadiums that just suck.
Yo, MetLife Stadium, if you go to franchise mode in Madden and you pick the default stadium that they give you before you like trick it out, that's MetLife Stadium. It's the most vanilla, bland, missionary stadium ever. It is whack. There's nothing cool in it. Tampa Bay has a pirate ship.
Yeah.
SoFi has how expensive is that Jumbotron that goes around?
They have a lake in the front of their stadium.
Bro, every stadium has something cool except for MetLife. It sucks. I hate it. It's just metal. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
But one of the reasons why they built that stadium was because they promised them a Super Bowl. If you look at every new stadium that's been built, within 5 to 6 years, pending the pandemic, no one accounted for that, every team has hosted a Super Bowl after that.
Makes sense to me.
It does. It's like a perk.
Yeah, but it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
All right. That's February 3rd, I'm imagining, in Buffalo, some snow flurries. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, that's true football, right? Like, if you're able to play in the inclement weather, you are like a tougher team. But I'm looking at Stefan Diggs' stats here from last season. 108 receptions, 1,400 yards, 11 touchdowns. I can't help but to think he may have gotten an extra 100 if he was playing in a dome every week.
Well, what's crazy is he's so good that I feel like he had a bad year last year. And you look at those numbers and it's like a career year for so many wide receivers.
Oh my God, yeah. That gets you the payday.
Yeah, but there were so many games where he just didn't appear. Josh Allen got a little banged up. They missed Brian Dable also. A little bit of that scheme was missing.
Yep.
So I think Stefan Diggs, he might be my favorite wide receiver to watch just run routes. Like everything is a clinic.
Yeah.
Every single time he just undresses corners.
Yep.
They're like going one way.
Just
spinning around. They're like, well, we're just here.
And that's why his brother's equally as good, bro. Travion Diggs.
Yeah.
Trayvon Diggs.
Probably have to guard each other their whole lives.
I just watched an Instagram clip of them in the offseason. I'm like, there's no better
right?
workout partner. But who do you have at number 2?
I got Davante Adams still. I think he's still the alpha. He is still the guy who, I mean, last year, he had just as good a season as if he was playing
back in Green Bay. Yeah, no, it was.
The numbers were very similar, dude. So with the Packers, he caught 123 passes, 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. Last year with the Raiders, caught 100 balls for 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns. And
arguably wasn't force-fed the ball enough, and there was so many plays in which Derek Carr just like would, trust me, I know, I studied the film on Derek Carr. I know what I'm getting for the Saints. Just blatant misses, bro, on big-time plays. There's a select 5 to 10 plays in a script that are like, these are our 40-yard plus hitters. And the amount of times I saw Derek Carr ruin Davante Adams' stat line, because he should have 4 more touchdowns. Like, I can vividly remember 4 overthrows on a post. But to your point, he is kind of like just the ultimate stud that you want to build your franchise around. You want your younger receivers to learn from a guy like Davante Adams.
Absolutely. Just the ultimate pro. And route running, just if you could build a perfect wide receiver, I think it'd be him, Davante Adams.
And it's crazy because I did not have him in my list.
Wow, that's a terrible list then.
No, you know who I tossed in the list that you're not a fan of, or you weren't a fan of last time, but he knocked on the doors of everybody.
2 for you was Diggs. So who's 3?
3 for me was Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
I think Tyreek Hill,
I don't have him on my list.
Still to this day is the most unguardable one-on-one player. Like there's no way you can consciously throw one on Hill and think that that's statistically a defensive advantage. This man's attracting two everywhere he goes. And I mean, the big question for me always with him was going to be durability with that small frame. And guys that are that fast, like ankle injuries or any sort of tweaks to the lower half can really diminish a career because he is nothing but speed. But to my point that I was saying that wide receivers need to be used more like athletes. There was so many times that I saw the Dolphins find creative ways of getting that man his touches. And he rose to the occasion. You know, everyone had that big question mark. What's going to happen once you leave Patrick Mahomes? Well, he's going to win another Super Bowl. But other than that, like you're still going to have a good season. But what do you think about Tyreek?
It's one of the rare cases with Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams in which they left their quarterback. I don't want to say that made them, but that they had a lot of success with.
People could say that they were made by that quarterback. Yes.
And they went to teams that had lesser talented quarterbacks and put up just as good, and in Tyreek's case, better seasons than they ever had.
Yeah.
That rarely happens, dude, because the history of the NFL wide receiver position, what happens is when it's your time to get paid, you want to get paid, right? And oftentimes, if your team isn't going to pay you, you leave to go to another organization. They're going to break the back for you. One, because you have to in order to steal someone else's players. You got to pay them more. But you always see a drop in production from when you leave A team and go to B team because the quarterback don't come with you. Mm-hmm. What happened to Mike Wallace when he left Big Ben? Out the league 2 years later.
Yep.
The only other guy that I can remember off the top of my head that had success when he left his quarterback was Emmanuel Sanders. He leaves Pittsburgh, goes to Denver, but also gets Peyton Manning.
Right.
So it's very
rare.
Every team that leaves their quarterback, every wide receiver, I should say, that leaves the quarterback that made him, it don't end like this.
Julio.
Love Julio.
I love him too, but he falls exactly into that category.
Yeah. But Tyreek Hill, that's a testament to Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, where both of these guys left their quarterbacks and they had just as good, if not better years than when they had the other guys that were the two best quarterbacks in the league.
Tyreek Hill never touched 1,500 yards with the Chiefs. He's hit 1,700 yards last year, 119 receptions, only 7 touchdowns. But I mean, he was just a big play machine.
Yeah.
So that's why he made my list. He's still just terrifying, man. Him and Waddle this next year. Hopefully they can figure it out at the quarterback spot.
I think I'm going to get heat for this one.
Go ahead.
I still got Cooper Kupp.
That's so hot. That's too hot.
That's hot?
That's, But go into it though, because there's merit because he did have an MVP season.
There's merit to that for sure. But also prior to him getting hurt last year, you know, he was on pace to break the records from the year before.
I did not.
He had 75. He played in 8 games. He had 75 catches, 812 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was on pace to catch more balls, come very close to the yardage, not as many touchdowns. But, dude, like Cooper Kupp was a monster last year, bro. And then he got hurt.
Yeah,
like the injury wasn't.
What was it?
It's not an ACL. It was like a lower body injury. It wasn't anything substantial. He didn't tear an Achilles or anything where he's going to miss time.
Yeah, I'm looking up his little.
But I still think that he's that guy with Stafford there. I still think he's a top 5 wide receiver.
I'm so impressed with the way that the Rams were able to keep all these pieces together. I myself never understood this. Is McVay done? Is he going to be a TV personality now? I'm like, it just didn't click with me. Like, I don't know. People were so quick to write off. Maybe this is just the Hollywood narrative kicking in that like McVay is just, fed up with after not winning a Super Bowl, having a mediocre season, but he's still got a stacked team coming back. I mean, Matt Stafford makes me feel.
I don't know about stacked, bro.
I mean, if you only got rid of Ramsey and you're bringing back a multi-defensive player of the year person, I'm taking that. I mean, they definitely made the right choice out of the two.
We got
to keep Cup. And now, truthfully, that's why their team was so good, is their offense was what carried them. And it just so happened that their defense was.
For sure. But they also made some moves at the deadline when they got Von Miller. They got Odell. They got some pieces that like really propelled them into the next level to go to a Super Bowl. I just think Cup, people are forgetting how good Cup was last year because he got hurt.
Yeah. Recency bias.
Yeah. It's
100%.
like, we have, who's another guy who should be on this list, but he's not on my list? D-Hop. Why all of a sudden we don't like D-Hop?
Because
he's been banged up the last couple of years.
I don't like him because of who his quarterback was, who had to get him the ball.
But dude, he's quarterback proof.
Yes.
How could he not be? He was killing in Houston until Watson got there. And then when Watson got there, he took the next step. And then when he went to Arizona, he helped Kyler Murray a ton. Dude, Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate. After that Bills game, he was the favorite with someone else. I remember vividly because I bet him to win MVP that year, Kyler Murray. I bet on every second-year quarterback. It's just my thing. I just do it. And after that Hail Murray that they coined it against the Bills, him and someone else were tied for MVP. And that's because D-Hop went there for the first time. That was the first year with D-Hop.
And I remember the season where he didn't drop a pass. It's still like a stat that I've heard, and I'm like, oh wow! It was like him and like Larry Fitzgerald had the same crazy type stat.
Yeah, and D-Hop also I think went like 4 straight years he didn't miss a snap.
Legend.
That's
legend shit. Yeah, because especially with these receivers.
Yeah, and it was also like 4 and 13, 4 and 12 Texan years too that he was doing.
But that's the best.
Yeah,
like when you're a receiver on a shitty team, you're going to get a lot of targets, right? You're going to be down in games. You're cool with it. You're just stat collecting. Pay me in bonuses that year because I'm about to rack them up. That should have been his mentality.
So you're not a fan of Cooper Kupp being on this list, or did I swing you a little bit? Because when I said Cooper Kupp, you're like, it's hot. It's hot.
That is a hot take because I wish I would have put him on my list because I know you're not. I'm a huge fan of the next person I'm going to bring up.
So is this? Hold on. Is this next person you're going to bring up? Because I think I have an idea who you're talking about. Because I gave you shit for this when we were on your show and you mentioned him. Is this what you actually believe, or is it just your fandom?
It's what I actually believe.
Okay.
Because I can swing you in this way. You're a huge fan of second-year quarterbacks.
Love second-year QBs.
So let's just run it back one more year with Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. After they got this thing figured out, the ship is on track.
Amon-Ra, still. You got
the Lions were the shock of the league last year, right?
They were.
And I'm going to be honest.
Jaguars too.
Yes. Everyone kind of here's the thing. If Hard Knocks wouldn't have been with the Lions, then they're under the radar. You know what I mean?
Strong.
You make the Jaguars Hard Knocks, then everyone's like, oh my gosh.
Yep. No, you're right. There is a tax with the Hard Knocks series.
100% is. And maybe that's why he's on the list, right? This is a Hard Knocks type pick right here because the thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown is I think he has the ability to have that consistency like a D-Hop. He doesn't seem like a player that's going to miss too many games, if any. And he just seemed to always be where Goff's eyes went when the times of the game that mattered. And for me, obviously, you need to be that in order to be a top 5 wide receiver. But he's definitely a player that this past year finished with 1,100 yards, was arguably like the number one. There's an argument to be made with DJ Chark also had a huge year for the Lions, but he's a dude that I'm following my blocking wide receiver love right here. He knows when to get physical with people, and I think he's one of the strongest, fastest receivers in my lineup here. I think he may be stronger than Diggs, but hey, his dad was ex Mr. Olympia. Makes sense to me. He fits the mold, and I think it's almost like the perfect triad. Dan Campbell loves him. Jared Goff's going to go to him, and he's going to show up. I think that leads to a 1,400 type yard year for him. And definitely somebody that you should pick up in fantasy early.
Yeah, for sure. Especially PPR, especially with Jamison Williams going to miss some time because he's one of us. He's a degen.
Very true.
Yeah, I think he's missing 6 games for betting.
And they got rid of their running back, Jamal Williams. He's the Saint now.
And Swift.
Yeah, so it's like they're putting a lot into him.
Yeah.
Williams that was the other. I mean, they had like a 3-headed monster last year. It just seemed like the Lions out of nowhere had the best receiving core in the entire league. Them and like the Dolphins. But who do you have next? Because I feel like we've touched.
My 4th was Diggs.
Okay.
So we talked about it before.
Perfect.
And then number 5 for me is Jamar Chase.
Thank you. All right. Same here. Let's fall in love with Jamar Chase one more time. He got injured a little bit last year. I feel there's no better quarterback receiver combo on the list. And I feel like I said that with Diggs, but now thinking back, this is elementary school, right? Like Jamar Chase's dad is smoking cigars with Joe Burrow's dad. Like this goes deeper than football. It's La Familia, right? That's Fast and Furious type stuff.
Yeah, they've been together for a minute and just been productive everywhere. He got hurt last year, 87 catches, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns.
And played when it mattered most late in the season. I'm very, never glad when a person gets injured, but I was like, when he got injured early, I was like, all right, at least we get him like late in the year, things matter. And he came back and produced.
So you think this is the best QB wide receiver duo?
Because of the history, yes. And I think, just think about how quick it was to go from winning a national title in college to then almost winning a Super Bowl. And
don't forget, he sat out a year because of COVID.
Correct. And I remember at the time being like giving him shit.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what do you?
It's funny because obviously it's so much easier to talk about it now, but when we did the NFL preview show, which is like the flagship show for VM, it's the first episode of its history. I remember we were listing like offensive rookie of the year that Jamar Chase was a rookie. And I forgot who I picked. I think it was Trevor Lawrence I picked. And then I remember saying, man, I feel like Jamar Chase might be the answer. And we were all like, yeah, he might be. And then remember that discussion happened about him not being able to see the football?
Yeah, it was the big preseason blunder, right?
Yeah.
He dropped like 5 passes in preseason games.
And he said that the size of the football threw him off. And the college football has the white stripe around it, so it's easier for you to see in. And then that got blown out of proportion. But I just remember saying to myself, like, dude, if you were to just be like abducted by aliens, right? And they were to tell you that, all right, this quarterback had the best college season ever. This wide receiver had the best college season ever. Them two played at the same college together. Now, fast forward 18 months, they're playing in the same NFL team. Do you think this dude is going to be good? It's like, yeah, of course he's going to be good. No shit.
Right.
Like it was obviously it's so much easier to say now, but like that was such an obvious one. But again, the narratives of not being able to see the football and all these other things become part of the story, which is why Jamar Chase, I think he was like 12-1 to win Rookie of the Year that year. And he was Rookie of the Year from like game 2.
Yeah, no, it was
a definitive just Rookie of the Year. But he's my 5th best wide receiver right now. And I have an honorable mention that I think is going to surprise you because he doesn't do it for me, dude, at all. At all. I do not like him as a wide receiver. But when you look at the list and you look at how productive he's been, he should be in the conversation.
Okay.
Mike Evans.
Yeah.
He's had 1,000 yards every year that he's played.
He's
not a wide receiver. He's not a wide receiver that I like at all. I don't like a wide receiver that is just like big body.
He's one-dimensional, bro.
Yeah.
He's just a deep threat. Like nothing about, especially after this past season with Brady and them. There was that discontent in my heart. Like I'm like, damn, if Tom doesn't like you, I kind of don't like you either. You know what I mean? Because there was just There was just Mike Evans not having Jameis Winston. Like, there was something about that combo that I liked more than I do with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a little more reckless.
Yeah.
They were like wild boys, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, 30 for 30 for real. 30 touchdowns, 30 intos is crazy.
Yeah. And Mike Evans would go to bat for that man and say, yeah, Jameis Winston's a lot better than people give him credit for. You know what I mean? Like, even to throw 30 touchdowns, like, it's tough. I did have honorable mentions.
Okay. Give me another.
AJ Brown. I mean, just goes from being the Titans' number one option, even when Julio was there. Like, that was the big thing for me. I was like, oh, wow, no, this is really AJ Brown's team. And then going on to do what he did last year. I mean, him on a slant route, dude, was one of the scariest routes with a receiver last year, period. Safeties were afraid to tackle him. He was so quick, and with the way that the Eagles offense maneuvered, I was like, man, AJ Brown, he was already a stud, and I knew he can make plays for himself, but with the way that offense fit in, that's why I feel he's a top 5. Honorable mention.
It's hard to argue against that. Also, what he did for Hurts, opened things up for Jalen Hurts. He was an MVP candidate. They went all the way to the Super Bowl. He's definitely an alpha for sure. And yeah. I think that's fair. That's a good one.
There's another one. I had to attack your division a little bit. How do you feel about Terry McLaurin?
I love Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's the most underrated wide receiver right now in the NFL.
Go into it, because I've seen his name pop up over the years. You know, you get the scary Terry. I was a huge fan of Terry Rozier with the Celtics, so that nickname is iconic for me.
He's had the last 3 seasons, he's had over 1,000 yards. He's had 77, and 87 catches. And he's had to deal with hell at quarterback.
Heineke, brother.
And they're not an offense that goes out there and wants their quarterback to sling it 40 times.
No.
They're slinging it 22, 26. And he's getting a lot of targets. Over 120 targets in each of the last 3 years.
Speedster, came out of a wide receiver university, Ohio State.
Yeah, but just tough too, dude. Just tough. A real leader. Like, he's the captain of the team. Like, legit. I think he's severely underrated, man. If he ever got his hands on a good quarterback, you would look at him as Devontae, Kupp. I really believe that.
I mean, the Commanders still got to figure it out at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they picked anybody up in the
They're going with
offseason.
Sam Howell, year 2.
Yeah.
It's wait and see. Look, it's not fair. We only saw him play one game against the Cowboys, who did and didn't need that last game. And that wasn't even that impressive. But
like, how crappy is that for a entire organization that their biggest win in the offseason was getting a new owner? Like, you can't even, like, think about how tough it is for Commander fans. Like, they haven't even been able to think about winning a Super Bowl, honestly, in the last 20 years.
Well, look, they have some history going their way. You haven't had a repeat winner of the division since 2002. And last couple of seasons, there's been that team that's been like worst to first, kind of. You know? So you never know. I don't think so. I'm just trying to make the case if you are a Commanders fan. But the Commanders have wanted Dan Snyder out for years, bro, since he bought the team.
Yeah, no. In that whole
they have 2
saga,
playoff appearances since he got there.
And the city itself, it's like one of those cities that I heard, you know, once, like a long time ago, like, oh, DC's like a sports town, you know? I mean, I know they beat the Golden Knights here a couple of years ago, the Caps did, but I still haven't seen it, you know? The only time I saw it was really when the Wizards would turn it up a little bit in the playoffs. And then you had like, oh, okay, this is what Washington's about. But yeah, tough going for that team. But that was it. That was my only, and then I put Adams there, but we talked about him.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
What's up?
I saw you on VSiN the other day, which you're making like regular appearances now.
I am, yeah.
That's, stepping up in the world.
You know, we're out here, man. We're hustling.
This guy was flipping eggs 18 months ago. And now we're in this beautiful, humble abode, my friend.
You should have went and got breakfast at my Pops, bro, when you were in the city.
Well, you said that your Pops doesn't work on weekends.
Nah, we don't do that. We don't work weekends.
It's just for the
Nah, it's too much work, bro.
You guys are making good.
We're good Monday through Friday. Hey, we're there at 3 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
It's like, I think he deserves to be off on the weekends.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And I regret it, but now it gave me an excuse to go back to New York.
Was that your first time in New York?
First time, bro. And I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to. Like, I'm on like this journey of like, let me see I went to Miami not too long ago, go to New York. I think the next big one for me is going to be Chicago. And then the Midwest, I can kind of skip over.
We're around the Midwest.
Unless it's like a big time game or something like I got to check out. But
if I never went to the Midwest, I wouldn't be too upset.
If you did?
If I never did. I would be like, oh, I can't believe I didn't go there.
The Great Plains.
I can't believe I didn't go to Boise.
It's so funny. I went to Boise for my brother's game.
You know what I mean? Like, it ain't South Beach, bro.
Yeah, I know. It's not a hub. But you were at VSiN and you were talking about who I think should definitely be considered an MVP candidate, Justin Herbert.
It's my boy.
So are you still on the Herbert train? Or are you done?
So everyone that listens to the show knows that I have a man crush on Justin Herbert. He's been my MVP pick the last 2 years. I've bet on the Chargers the last 2 years. And now I've pivoted away just a little bit because the odds for Denver jumped out to me, right? And I'm buying stock on Denver and their defense and Russell Wilson not being completely cooked and Sean Payton. However, the more I'm looking at it, I think the MVP is going to come down to two guys, Herbert or Burrow. Both of their odds are around 7-1 to 12-1. Justin Herbert's 12-1. But
it's definitely the value play there.
When they asked me to come up with some NFL futures and I was just looking at MVP, that one jumped out to me. And then I started thinking, George, I'm like, I've been down the road with Herbert. I've been ride or die with Herbert. Now if I abandon and then he wins MVP.
Bro, you're going to feel horrible.
I'm going to feel like shit.
You got to lock it up. You got to do it.
Here's the thing, right? And I was thinking more about this. All of a sudden, we don't love Justin Herbert like we did this time last year. Remember what a lot of like sports betting is, what's the conversation from one year to another? What was the conversation last year? Justin Herbert, he got these weapons. They got Khalil Mack on defense. They got all these guys coming. They improved the offensive line. They're going to be good. Herbert's going to take the next step. So much public money came in on them to win the Super Bowl. Them and the Bills were the two most heavily wagered teams. And then they're a letdown, right? They end up sneaking into the playoffs. Then they have that wild game against the Jaguars, which they're up 4 touchdowns and then they lose.
And that's why people are looking over.
And that's why people are looking past them. What's the last thing we saw? An epic collapse. Not a comeback. It was an epic collapse.
That wasn't his fault.
It wasn't, right? So now we don't like him. However, I think now this is the best team that he's ever been on because the best move of this offseason was not a player. It was a coach. Kellen Moore leaving the Cowboys to go to the Chargers is the best free agency move out there because Herbert now is going to have a coordinator that I think he'll definitely trust. And there is a large sample size of what he did in Dallas with Dak Prescott, who Dak is solid, very good quarterback, and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's in that discussion with some of the top guys in the league for a reason.
Absolutely.
And now you also have a first-round pick that they spent on wide receiver, the kid from TCU. You're going to have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Bro, they played 4 or 5 games together last year.
Yep.
You had some devastating injuries to the offensive line. Like, they've been snake bit the last couple of years. But the case that I was making for Justin Herbert was, why all of a sudden we don't like him?
I think people aren't bought in to Staley. It's not him.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the organization around him. And I think the thing that people are confused on with Staley, and I mean, even as you were addressing it now, it's me re-identifying that last year he didn't play aggro as much as he did 2 years ago, but it probably was because of the health, right? The understanding that his squad wasn't fully capable of that. But the thing that I really want to see more of this year, and I hope Kellen Moore can bring it out of him, is that one crazy Herbert play a game, right? Where it's just through double coverage, right? Or you're splitting like a cover 2 on a tight window. He throws lasers and they affect the entire outcome of the game. And he's good for one of them every time I've gone to see him play the Raiders. And I mean, I've gotten like primo vision right from behind him, seeing the play, identify and being like, oh, there's no way he's doing that. Oh, he's doing that. Whoa. I need to see more of those type of plays. And I think that the last thing that isn't allowing that is Austin Eckler's too good. And in order to be an MVP type quarterback, obviously you have to have, your little dump off valve. But, he could have made a case in just that he outshines Herbert in the statistical categories, scoring touchdowns and everything. Like there's a lot that is in that Chargers organization that's like great problems to have. But will the stars align for him this year? You're an idiot if you don't put money down on him. Like, truthfully.
I have to.
I mean, it's 2 years in a row, and it's like the third year, I'm willing, if you actually wanted to start like a pot, like, all your Patreon users, hey, let's just throw this in, it could be a good idea there. I would donate $20.
Dude, think about this also. Last year, he hurt his ribs early on in the year. And then he loses Keenan Allen, loses Mike Williams, loses Slater, his left tackle, losing other offensive linemen. And now you're getting the coordinator. You're getting all these guys back. Also add a first-round pick there. And you're getting better odds now on him to win MVP than you did the last 2 years.
So what was he last year?
8-1. He was one of the favorites. Yeah.
When you said 12-1, I was like, damn, it's still not like crazy value.
Yeah, but that's where he's going to be, though.
Yeah, where do you find best value on these quarterbacks NFL props? Do you have to snipe them before the season, or can you like?
They don't really change too much.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're not going to see the only time you'll see it change, meaning it means that money has been put on them.
Got it.
So they're trying to balance out their sides.
Got it.
But you won't see a guy go from. Let's look at Justin Fields, for example. Justin Fields, when the season ended, was 120-1 to win MVP. Do you know what his odds are now? 25. Because everyone's buying hype on, well, now they got DJ Moore.
Yep.
Now they're more improved. They spent a lot of capital on their defense, whether in the draft or free agency. He showed something last year. And that only moves that drastically because of all the money that's being bet on him. But you won't see any time that you see MVP odds move like that, it means that money's coming in.
True. Okay. It's getting me educated a little bit. You got to do your job with me.
I got it.
You got to change me into a better.
For all the people.
I really do think that's a great idea. You put your futures in there and let's just do a pot.
Let the Patreon members pay for the future?
Yeah. And then at the end, whatever the winnings are, if it hits, so you throw a party or something, invite everybody out.
I like this.
I really think, because then you're riding it all year with your fans that have donated into.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's an interesting one.
All for a dope experience.
Speaking of Patreon roll call, we got Nick Chavez, Abel Rezin, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Velasquez, Derek Plates, Devin Rendon, Jordan Riley, Mike Wozniak, Nick Crummich, Thomas Robinson, and shout out to David Martinez. Your merch is on the way. You pledged for an entire year to the Patreon. Thank you very much for your contributions. George, I want to wrap this conversation up before we get out of here. I want to go into the NBA. I know we had another NFL segment planned, but this wide receiver talk really took all the NFL out of me.
Yeah, same. TBH.
I want to talk about what's happening right now in the conference finals. At the time that we're recording, it is Monday afternoon, 3:15 Pacific. So this is before Game 4
for the Lakers.
Let's start with the Lakers. What happened? Why are they down 3-0?
They're down 3-0 because the Nuggets are that good.
That's the answer.
There is no team that is faster and has a better offensive efficiency. They have built their team. And I keep using the word team because Mike Malone, what he's done with that entire team, building up Michael Porter Jr. after injury, getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, making Jamal Murray confident in that ability, right? I would say 2 years ago, Mike Malone in his head, probably after they lost in the bubble, had a conversation with Jamal Murray and just been like, hey, this is how much I trust you and I'm going to continue to trust you at this level. And it just goes to show, bro, because Murray's been playing lights out, but then Jokic is, arguably, dude, if he continues this path, I think he will be, chasing LeBron with all those statistical categories he's able to fill up. And the way he plays is rather like low key. He's not you're bringing up the explosiveness in a player that makes him like Jokic isn't explosive. Like he's going to be doing this for a long time. So it makes perfect sense to me. The thing that I'm going to start saying, because I said it before the playoffs even happened, is like, LeBron, where you at, champ? Like you got to be, at this moment in time, you have to kind of shift it into that 0 dark 30 mode. And I just don't think he did. I think he's kind of like soaking up this year, all-time scorer, his kids going to school. We made it to the Western Conference Finals. That's good enough. But like that's the level of energy I feel he played with.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up that 0 dark 30 because that's been a big part of his aura come playoff time. He always just shuts it down. No social media, nothing. And he's posting every day.
Hey, you couldn't do that. His kid was about to commit to SC, bro.
Yeah,
come on.
You got it.
His kid was about to commit to SC.
Well, what's interesting is two completely polarizing franchises in the way that they approached how they built their roster. Mm-hmm. Denver through the draft, their three best players, all draft picks of theirs: Jokic, Murray, and Porter Jr. And then the Lakers on the flip side, it's all of them have been acquired outside of like Austin Reeves.
And they're good. That's like the thing. Like they're all great third pieces right now.
Right. But it's AD in a trade. LeBron signed there. D'Lo you drafted, but then you traded to acquire him back. Hachimura also. Schroeder also you signed in free agency, where it's two different approaches. And you know what's going to happen, right? Yeah. The conversation if the Nuggets win the finals, because they're going to win the series. No team has ever come back from 3-0 down.
0-149, but after the Celtics do it, it'll be 1-150.
Yeah, all right, bro.
All right.
It's a
wait. I'll wait for it. But
we'll get to the Celtics in just a little bit, as they caught that Miami flu in Game 3 being down there. But with the Nuggets, if the Nuggets win this championship, you know that the conversation is going to be build through the draft, develop your players, have good scouting, have good player development, which is not a bad thing to have.
Yeah.
If you look at the Warriors, they did the same shit. Mm-hmm. The Warriors drafted their 3 guys. They got super lucky with Draymond Green being a second-round pick and him panning out, fitting that system to a T. And then they also got lucky with Steph Curry having those ankle issues and Golden State being like, no, recover fully. Let's not bring you back right away. Because I always hear this take about how, man, the Knicks were 1 pick away from Curry. It's like, bro, that never would have happened in New York. Yeah. Because New York media in his rookie year would have been like, yo, bro, we're getting a lot of pressure from...
We picked the kid from Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just after one good tournament.
And all these other guys are playing well. Like, you got to get out there. You're not 100%. It's okay. Are you 80%? No, you're 70? It's okay. Just go out there. We need the daily news off our back. And then it was going to demolish his whole career. So he went to the right place. And then when you look at Denver, Jokic, Murray, and Porter, player development, 2 of the 3, wild injuries, bro. Porter dropped in the draft because he had the back problems coming out. And then he signed that monster contract that Denver gave him, and then he got hurt right away. And you're like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. And then Jamal Murray, he gets hurt after you paid him too. But player development, proper rehab, great scouting. And then you go and you get your Aaron Gordon, you get your KCP, you get Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown, when he was on the Nets, there were some nights where even with Durant, you're like, holy shit, this guy's the best guy on the court. Like, how is this happening? But again, this is, and also this core has been together for about 5-6 years now.
Yep.
And it shows so much in how fluid they are with the ball and the passing and you know, how they say quarterbacks throw a guy open. How many times is Jokic throwing to a spot? There's no one even there. and then Porter just comes out the corner, catch and shoot.
It's so obvious, Nick, that the one thing that is highlighted in this NBA playoffs is that if you have a good coach and you have a good scheme, you have a chance.
Oh, in the conference finals, especially the coaching mismatches is exactly why both series are what they are.
100%.
100%. Yo, Ham, what's good? Why is D'Lo still playing? He hasn't been good in 6 games. Like, why is he still starting? Why is he still playing? He literally threw that game away from them.
I mean, I've seen
it. In the second half. It was a nightmare.
I've seen the nightmare it is to develop a rotation for the Lakers. I mean, even just me analyzing it as a fan from the outside, it's tough. You have a lot of skill and talent. Anybody could be the third guy on any given night, but nobody stepped up to say, that is my role. And I thought it was going to be Schroeder early on in the playoffs, to be honest. He had the most experience. I remember Atlanta trusting him big time, 3-4 years ago in the Eastern Conference Finals, when that team was, young up and coming with Trae Young, John Collins and everything. But it makes perfect sense. The Lakers definitely don't have a shot at coming back at this. And I think the Nuggets are obviously going to be the favorites no matter who comes out of the East.
It's not no matter who, bro. Stop. You're a Celtics fan. I know. It's a wrap.
We're recording this Monday at 3:23 p.m. right now. So the Celtics still have not been eliminated.
It's a wrap.
Nor have the Lakers. So I guess, we were signing them off too early. Listen,
But isn't it also funny for all the people that are saying, oh, the NBA wants Lakers and Celtics, and now they're both down 3-0, right?
I think they try. I think the NBA, they definitely have their hands in trying to manipulate it. But
they gave the Lakers Scott Foster in Game 3. That didn't work out.
Hell no.
But think about it, right? You're seeing this conversation a lot where a lot of people are saying, no one's going to watch this finals because it's Miami and Denver. It's like, bro, I don't think that's the case anymore.
And here's the reason why it's not the case for me or any basketball fan is because we've been seeing LeBron and Steph for however the last 12 years.
But it's also two very polarizing guys and like a positive polarizing. It's two dudes that kind of defined an era.
Correct.
Where now Jokic and Butler being the two guys going at it.
I don't think it's Butler. Even though this will be his second that he possibly might be taking his heat to.
Yo, enough! Stop. We're not doing this on this show, bro.
Can I at least pitch my? Here's how it might happen.
All right, talk to me.
Okay. Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus have been shooting the lights out. Statistically speaking, they're going to have an off night.
Yeah.
Okay. We get one. They have an off night on Tuesday coming up here. The Celtics are able to sneak one. Okay, they're ready for the gentleman's sweep. The Celtics win another one.
They're at home.
Right? They have the crowd. Now, this is where we have to have another defining moment because I believe we're cursed at the moment. Jimmy Butler looked into Grant Williams' eyes and sucked out his soul. So currently the Celtics are soulless.
Oh, and can I tell you where they lost the series also? Did you see what Marcus Smart and Jimmy Butler were jabbing at each other with?
No, I didn't see that one in particular.
Marcus Smart, because Butler did that.
Oh, yeah.
To Horford.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart said, we beat y'all last year.
Fuck. No, he didn't.
Yep.
Marcus is better. You know what it is, bro? They can't take the Oklahoma State out of him. Marcus Smart was the just all-time rebel when he played for Oklahoma State. And I remember watching him play in college before the Celtics got him. I'm like, man, this is feisty. I love that type of player, right? But he's learned to calm himself down, right? He's got the crazy Ron Artest potential, but then he reins himself in like a meta world peace. That's a clip right there. I have to make that a clip.
That is, yeah. I'm gonna make that a clip
because Jimmy Butler and the Heat are bringing it out of him right now. They're bringing the hood out of Marcus Smart, and he's just lost for words, bro. And I
think he's rattled.
He's so rattled.
Because, when you talk shit to someone and it does nothing to them, that defeats you.
Mm-hmm. And
there are not many guys that you could talk shit to and it doesn't rattle them. And Butler's one of those guys where it's like, yo, you sure you want to do that? It's like, yo, all my friends that are UFC fighters, anytime someone tries to start shit with them outside, they'll be like, yo, you sure you want to do that? That's like, yo, you should back up right there.
Right.
Don't get into that. When you're a shit talker to someone and it does nothing to their psyche at all, it makes them better. That defeats
It's
you.
terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And like I said, that game, it would be game 6.
Back in Miami.
The Celtics will need to have had some sort of soul stealing back. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, bro, because the Heat are just ragtag guys. They, up until this moment, they're playing with just the utmost confidence. And I don't blame them. Like Spoelstra, I've said it on other shows. I think Spoelstra should be considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I understand that, it may not seem like the hardest thing to coach LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh, but it is, right? When you have 3 studs to produce year after year after year, and then now you get Jimmy Butler and you go back to 2. I mean, it's hard for me not to think that he's that good of a coach.
And I think that that's aged really well for him, leaving those guys. Well, those guys leaving and then going back to the finals. And this is the 3rd time in 5 years that they're in the conference finals. Let's not forget, last year, man, that went to 7 games against Boston. And Jimmy Butler, with like 15 seconds left, he front rimmed.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that is very, very close. And I think Butler is such a fascinating player, dude, because can you think of another guy in another sport that you'd compare him to in the sense of he's not a top 5 player at his position year in, year out, but come playoff time, he just hits a different level. There's one that comes to mind.
Go ahead.
Exclude the championships that he's won.
Okay.
Julian Edelman. Was Edelman ever a top 15 wide receiver in your mind at any point?
I see where you're going with that.
Come playoff time, bro,
Yep.
Look at his playoff numbers. It's like Jerry Rice and him. As far as, obviously, I'm excluding the championships because Jimmy Butler hasn't won one. But a dude that come playoff time, he's getting double covered. He's getting 18 targets a game. He's productive. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. There's not another guy I could think of that in the regular season you're like, he's okay, he's good. He has a 7 for 130 game against the Jets in week 11, but then he'll catch 4 for 38, and then come playoff time, he's the best receiver on the field.
You can go Frank Clark.
That's a good one.
Absolute game record.
That's a really good one.
Frank Clark.
Damn.
Bro. Yeah.
Playoff Frank Clark's a real thing, yeah.
And Jimmy Butler, that whole dad comparison with MJ. I don't know if you've seen that photo.
I have.
Of Jimmy Butler bald.
I have.
I mean, I know they say it's false, but I kind of believe it.
Good conspiracy theory.
Such a
good one, man.
He plays tough like Jordan.
The Miami Heat, man. I was on this podcast back in February, and I didn't say, oh, bet them. No, I'm not going to say that. But what I did say is what I say every year about them. Just don't sleep on the Heat. They're a team that they're grizzled vets. They've been there, done that. And that Heat culture thing is a real thing. That's why you see a lot of guys go there. Dude, Caleb Martin was cut, signed a 10-day, and now he's flourishing there. Gabe Vincent, another guy. Right? Jimmy Butler, kind of a cast-off, right? Tobias Harris over me. That's what he was yelling when they beat the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Lowry, no one wanted him after, he's old. Kyle Lowry's like 38 now. But you're looking at this. It's that Heat culture thing, man. That's a real thing.
I think I was disappointed in one thing about the Heat and Eric Spoelstra, but I think it was his call. Udonis Haslem not coming in when the Heat were up by
30.
And the people are chanting his name. I'm like, bro, get UD's ass in the game. That's just me just loving sports. Give the people what they want, bro. That's how rare of a moment is that? I think UD was probably like, no, the knees ain't working.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
But
let me enjoy this.
Yeah. Will Udonis Haslem over under 1.5 points in the NBA Finals?
Wow.
If they make it.
Under. He ain't getting no burn, bro. There's no way.
Over under 1.5 turnover or half a turnover.
How about over 1.5 minutes played?
Obviously, last night showed that they weren't willing to put him in with 2 minutes left. So I definitely think with a minute, But that's why I bring up the turnover thing. I think they might give him the ball at the end of the game on a shot clock violation.
Just to hold it and get the
just
the
to
salute
get,
to
right. Taking one final turnover.
Oh man, dude, he's been a Heat lifer his whole career too, and then he's basically an assistant coach.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's the big
but you
part
need
of
to
the
have
Heat
that.
culture.
Like you need to have those old heads that like show you the ropes and tell you, hey man, don't stay out until 4 a.m. the night before a game. And that's what I think. It's dope to have a bunch of dudes that are 21 to 25 because the future looks bright. But look at Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Memphis needs a dude like Haslam to be like, yo, cut that bullshit, bro. Cut that.
They need a little bit more.
Look at their players. Their 5 best players are all under 25. JJJ, Bane,
Dylan
Ja. Brooks, I think, might be like 26, 27. But still, you're looking at it like, you need to have some grizzled vets.
Yep.
It's important.
So no shot for the Celtics?
Nah. It's a wrap, bro. It's not going to happen. You're asking for a lot.
Joe Mazola, does he get fired? Look at all the big time coaches that got fired for this year for so much less, bro.
Well, you know what's cool about a Nuggets Heat final also? It shows organizations what it means to be patient. Malone's been there for a minute. Spoelstra's been there for hours, right? If we're making that comparison, he's been there for 14 years now.
Yeah, dude.
Like, yo, be patient, bro. You can't just have a guy come in and he's just immediately going to turn into Phil Jackson. Like, it's not going to happen. Coach Bud in Milwaukee, he got fired.
Yep.
And he won a championship.
That was the one that, out of all of them, surprised me.
That was shocking, yeah.
I mean, Doc makes sense to me. And then the other one, the Suns coach, Monty Williams.
Monty, I definitely agree with because, man, that's back-to-back years in a elimination game at home that you get violated. Like, the game's over at halftime, bro. They were down 30 in both games against the Mavericks and the Suns at halftime.
I just feel like this never used to happen in the NBA playoffs.
It's because of 3-point shots.
Yeah. And but I also just feel like, teams have lost the way to navigate down from big leads. Like, they just think that it's just like all hope is lost. There's so much to be remembered in like great defensive possessions leading to easy 2-point baskets, like really keeping it simple. But now everyone just, if we don't go 33 to 38% from behind the 3-point line, we're going to lose.
It's the gift and the curse of the NBA right now in 2023 and the last couple of years, where if you're down 20, you're not out of a game. And it's because of the 3-point shot. That's why you see, if you really look at the box score of individual games throughout the playoffs in the last 3 to 4 years, just go to the box score and look at how well each team shot from 3, and it'll correlate to the win margin. If a team outshoots the other like 16 to 7, it's like a 30-point blowout. And it happens so often.
Very true.
And it's why when you're down 15, you're not out of a game because, hey, I could go on an 11-0 run. I cut it to 2 possessions. But then on the flip side is if they go on the 11-0 run, now the door's blown out. And that's just what the NBA is nowadays.
Celtics in 7, baby.
Yeah, all right. George.
Celtics in 7. Get it started back there.
If they wanna hear some takes and follow the Celtics journey through your social media, where can they find you?
At Mr. George Carmona is where you can find my personal page. And follow at Gridiron Junkies if you love football content. We got a lot of cool shit coming up here in the future. So merch. Maybe me making a Patreon because I wanted. If you don't take that idea with the future bets, like I'm definitely doing that. We gotta go with some pretty a Justin Herbert. Think about that, a Justin Herbert party because he won MVP, and then we invite him to it.
Wow.
And he would probably come. Like if we said, bro, like we did this, it's been culminating for a year. Like,
damn, that's a good idea, bro.
We're doing it.
I like it.
We're doing it.
Listen, you don't got to threaten me with a good time. If you want to degen, I am on board. It don't take too much. Just tell me about a parlay or a futures ticket, I'm in. I'm in. At Nick Diaz Tennis, you can find me, veteransminimum.com for all things VM. And we will be back later this week with some more VM.